She had nothing. No money, no name, no safety net. Just a heart that had learned to break. And somehow, still, love. He had everything. Power, wealth, a corporate empire at his fingertips. But not the one thing he needed most. A soul who saw the man behind the fortune. This isn't your typical love story. This is the story of Jolly and Gray, in the heart of a sleepless city where skyscrapers towered like ambition itself. Lived a man known to the world as Gray Winton, CEO of the Gray Corporation. He was a titan of tech, a billionaire by 35, and the dream of every gossip column and business magazine. To the public, he was untouchable, a king in a marble castle. But behind that polished smile was a man who went home to silence, who ate alone, who couldn't remember the last time someone asked how he was doing. Without needing a favor, across the city, in a crumbling apartment with chipped paint and leaking pipes, lived Jolly Amina, a soft-spoken woman with strong eyes and tired hands. She worked at the Little Sip Cafe, juggling morning shifts and freelance writing at night. Her dream, to become a children's author one day. But life hadn't been kind. She once gave her heart to a man named Ron, a man who promised her love, stability, and a future. Instead, he drained her savings, used her name to take loans, then vanished, leaving her with a shattered heart and debt that laughed at minimum wage. Still, she smiled, because deep down, Jolly believed that one day, love would come, real and healing. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Rain poured down like a motion, and the city was wrapped in grey. Gray Winton's car stalled just blocks from his office, a rare malfunction in his otherwise perfect world. Impatient and annoyed, he stepped out, umbrella in hand, and walked toward the nearest shelter, which happened to be a small cafe, the Little Sip Cafe. As he entered, the bell above the door chimed. Behind the counter, Jolly looked up. She had no idea who he was. Just another wet stranger. She smiled. Rough day, Gray blinked. He wasn't used to being spoken to casually. Like a human. He nodded. You could say that. She pointed to the corner table by the window. That seat's lucky. Customers say it heals bad moods. He smirked. Let's test that theory. And that's how it began. Every day that week, Gray came back. Sometimes he ordered coffee, sometimes just tea, sometimes he just sat, silently watching the rain, watching her. She didn't talk much, but when she did, it wasn't flattery. It was real, funny, grounded. One day, he asked her name. She answered, Jolly, like happy. Though life doesn't always agree with the name, he chuckled. I'm Gray, like the sky when it's not sure if it wants to cry or shine. And for the first time in years, he laughed, genuinely. What Jolly didn't know was that the man sipping her coffee had a net worth of $6.3 billion. What Gray didn't know was that the woman behind the counter had survived heartbreak most people wouldn't recover from. But the heart recognizes kindness. Even when wrapped in rags or riches, weeks passed. They talked more, shared small stories. She spoke about her dream of writing children's books. He, vaguely, about managing a tech startup. He wanted her to like him, not his money. One evening, as the city glittered and the cafe emptied, Jolly shared a story. How I learned not to trust pretty smiles. She began. She spoke of Ron, of betrayal, of waking up to debt letters and broken promises. Gray sat quietly, no words, just silence and respect. I guess love isn't for people like me, she ended. He leaned forward. Or maybe, love just hasn't met the right you yet. Their eyes met, and something stirred. Quiet but undeniable. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. One night, a paparazzi photo surfaced online. Gray leaving a board meeting, jolly, beside him, laughing. The internet exploded. Who's the mystery girl with billionaire Gray Winton? From waitress to queen, gold digger or fairy tale romance? Jolly was shocked. She hadn't known. Gray tried to explain. I wanted you to know me, before the name. She felt betrayed again. Not because he was rich, but because he lied. She walked away, heart heavy. For days, Gray waited, called. She didn't answer. She felt foolish. Again, was she just a project, a novelty? But then something unexpected happened. Gray Corporation was hit by a scandal. One of his top investors was caught laundering funds and implicated the company. Stock prices plummeted. Gray's face was on every news screen. From billionaire genius to fraud suspect. His board turned on him. His friends vanished. And yet, one night, as he sat alone in his office, surrounded by legal files and despair, the door creaked. Jolly stood there, holding a thermos of coffee. I figured you could use a lucky seat. Sometimes when the world turns its back on you, the one person you didn't expect becomes your lifeline. That night, as Gray looked up from the papers, his heart did something it hadn't done in days. It fluttered. Jolly stood at the doorway, the rain glistening on her shoulders, a thermos in her hands, and forgiveness in her eyes. He blinked, unsure if he was hallucinating from exhaustion. You came back? He asked, voice almost childlike. She stepped in slowly. I wasn't going to. I was mad, hurt. But then I saw the news, and I remembered the way you listened, the way you never judged me. I figured maybe you deserved the same. Gray stood up. You didn't have to. I wanted to. She interrupted softly. She placed the coffee down. It's not from the cafe. It's homemade. Sweeter, for bitter nights. That night, they sat in silence. Two people surrounded by chaos, clinging to the quiet peace between them. In the days that followed, Jolly returned every evening. Not as a lover, not yet, but as a friend, a confidant. She brought notebooks, doodled on whiteboards, scribbled campaign ideas. She studied the company's image problem from a public eye, not a corporate lens. You're trying to prove innocence to lawyers, she said one night. But your audience isn't a courtroom. It's people. She pitched an idea, a From the Inside Out campaign, where Gray himself would go on live streams, take open questions, show transparency. It's risky, said Gray. So is doing nothing, Jolly replied. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be real. The first live stream drew thousands. Gray sat with no script, just a webcam, and Jolly behind the lens, giving him a thumbs up. He admitted mistakes, shared lessons, spoke of accountability, leadership, and resilience. People listened, because for the first time, Gray wasn't a CEO. He was a man trying to make things right, and beside him, guiding the tone, scripting responses, managing the team, was Jolly. From cafe counters to boardroom battlefields, she became the unexpected warrior of Gray Corporation's rebirth. Soon journalists wanted her interviews. She saved Gray's image. Who is the girl behind the redemption arc? But Jolly turned them all down. I'm not here for stories, she said. I'm here for the man. And Gray heard every word. One late evening, the two sat on the rooftop of the company's tower. Jolly leaned back against a bench, eyes on the stars. I've always wanted to see the sky without worrying what tomorrow costs, she whispered. Gray turned to her, and now she smiled. Now I see hope. He reached into his pocket, A small velvet box. No, it's not what you think. He chuckled nervously. Just something. Symbolic. He opened it. Inside, a tiny silver key. This is the key to my private office, he said. I want you to have it, because without you, that space doesn't mean much anymore. Jolly stared at the key. For a moment, her lips trembled. Not because of what it was, but because it meant trust, respect, partnership. Something Ron never gave her. She accepted it. Not just the key, but the place she had earned in his life. But stories of redemption aren't without shadows. One night, as Gray and Jolly prepared for an investor presentation that could relaunch the company, an email arrived from Ron, subject line. Jolly isn't who you think she is. Gray's eyes narrowed. The body of the message. Screenshots of Jolly and Ron. Old pictures. Blurry texts. Bank statements from years ago, painting her as an accomplice in Ron's fraud. For a second, Gray froze. Doubt, fear, pain. It all returned. He didn't confront her immediately, but Jolly noticed the shift. He was distant, distracted. That night she walked into his office. Something's wrong. He showed her the email. Silent, cold. She stared, her hands trembling. Those are old. He used my name. I didn't know until the bank started calling. I swear on everything. I want to believe you, Gray whispered. But this company, I can't risk. She stepped back, tears pooling. You think I'm like him? Silence. I gave you my heart, and you just threw me in the same bucket as my worst mistake. She walked out. Gray sat alone again. But this time, it hurt more than any scandal. The next day, a new storm broke. Ron had leaked a video, a manipulated clip of Jolly handling money and smiling during a past transaction. Out of context, but damning, social media exploded. Gold digger! It was all a setup. She used him just like the last guy. Gray's board demanded her removal from all campaigns. But Gray, now alone, couldn't think. Until one of the interns, a young girl named Priya, knocked on his door. Sir, she said, I've worked with Jolly for 6 weeks. She's never once taken a dime beyond her wage. And this video, I found the original. It's doctored. She handed over proof. Gray's heart stopped. He had doubted the one person who stood by him when everyone else left, and he had let her walk away. That night, Gray stood at Jolly's door. She opened it slowly. He didn't speak immediately, just pulled a folded letter from his pocket. In it, a handwritten apology, and beneath it, the original footage. Tears streamed down her face. You believed someone else. Before you believed me, she whispered. I was scared. And stupid, he replied. She didn't say anything, but when he reached for her hand, she didn't. Pull away. Sometimes forgiveness is a choice. Sometimes it's a leap. And this time, she leapt. Over the next month, they rebuilt everything. The campaign, the company, and the trust. The public turned in their favor. The investor pitch was a success. Gray Corporation wasn't just back, it was reborn. And at the center of the rebirth, a girl once left for broke, now writing a new chapter. Forgiveness can mend what was broken, but love, true love, is what makes it stronger than ever before. Jolly and Gray weren't perfect. They had scars, stories, and silent fears. But through the storm, they found each other and chose each other. And with that choice, began a chapter neither of them expected. As Gray Corporation flourished again, it wasn't headlines or profits that Gray cherished most. It was coming home to a woman who didn't care for luxury, but always left handwritten notes in his lunchbox. It was waking up to the scent of her tea and the sound of her humming while writing. They hadn't said, "I love you" yet, but it lived in every look, every pause, every shared silence. Then one morning, as golden sunlight washed over their apartment balcony, Gray finally spoke the words. "I don't need a board to back me, or a market to believe in me," he said. Jolly looked up, smiling. "Oh, I just need you," he said, reaching into his pocket. Not a velvet box this time, but a tiny leather-bound notebook. The first few pages held Gray's messy handwriting. Notes about their future home, children's names, travel dreams. And on the last page, a single question. "Will you be my always?" Tears welled in Jolly's eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "I already am." The engagement wasn't publicized. No big press, no glamorous events. Just two souls building a life, brick by brick, but happiness, like light, always casts shadows. 1 week before the wedding, Gray received a call from an anonymous number. The voice on the other end, cold, confident, dangerous. "I know what Jolly did in 2018, it said. "Pay me $5 million, or I release everything." Gray froze. Another blackmail attempt? The voice laughed. This time, it's not about Ron. It's about her mother. Jolly had never spoken about her family, only that they were gone. Gray confronted her gently, and for the first time, Jolly broke. She told him everything. "My mother was addicted to gambling. She borrowed money from loan sharks. One night, she stole my ID, used it to open fake accounts. I was just 19. When they found out, they came for me. I took the blame to protect her. She ran away. I faced the court. I almost went to jail until a judge gave me probation and wiped the record when I proved it wasn't me." She paused. "I never wanted you to know. Not because I'm ashamed, but because I didn't want you to see me as broken." Gray didn't flinch. He stepped forward, took her face in his hands. "You're not broken. You're a survivor. And I don't love you despite your past. I love you because of it." And that night, they made a choice. No more secrets. Not from each other. Not from the world. The next day, Jolly held a press conference. Yes, she held it, in front of flashing cameras and curious eyes. She told the truth. About her mother. About Ron. About everything. "I am not a fairy tale," she said. "I am not here because of luck. I am here because I never gave up." Her voice was steady, her eyes unwavering. The world, used to seeing scandal and spin, fell quiet. Then, applause. Real, loud, roaring. Jolly Strong trended for a week. Gray watched from the wings, eyes shining. She had faced her demons, and now she was unstoppable. The wedding was small, a garden behind their countryside home, close friends, a few business allies, and Priya, the intern who saved the company, was the flower girl, despite being 23, as Jolly walked down the aisle in a dress she had designed herself, stitched with symbols from children's books she'd loved growing up. Gray whispered to himself, "This is what real wealth looks like." Their vows were handwritten. Jolly said, "I was a girl betrayed, used, silenced, but you saw me, heard me, and gave me back my voice." Gray said, "I was a man surrounded by power, but starving for connection. You didn't fix me. You reminded me I was never broken." As the sun set and their lips met, the guests stood and clapped, not for the success, not for the fame, but for the rarest kind of love, one born from truth. In the months that followed, Gray Corporation started a foundation in Jolly's name, providing microloans to women rebuilding after financial abuse. Jolly published her first children's book, Milo the Brave Heart. It sold over 2 million copies. They opened a creative library for kids in Jolly's old neighborhood. The same place Ron once left her broken, and every morning, Grace still left love notes in her tea box, because even in a billion-dollar life, it's the small things that matter. They were from different worlds. He had everything, but was empty. She had nothing, but was whole. Together, they found the one thing neither had alone. Forever. Love doesn't end at I do. That's where it begins. And for Gray and Jolly, the real journey started when the world stopped watching. 6 months after the wedding, Gray and Jolly moved to a quieter part of town, away from the towering skyline and into a lush green suburb with winding paths and wildflower gardens. Gray turned the old barn in the back into an art studio somewhere, Jolly, and Jolly insisted that Gray hang his college paintings beside hers. Because every genius deserves to be reminded of where they began. They didn't just share space, they shared silence, laughter, midnight waffles, pillow forts on stormy nights, and arguments over silly things like whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Jolly said yes, Gray said never. They lived simply, yet richly. But life has a way of adding chapters you never plan. One rainy morning, Jolly fainted in the garden. Gray rushed her to the hospital, and hours later, the doctor walked in with a smile. She's not sick, she's pregnant. Gray blinked. His heart pounded. A child. In the months that followed, their lives transformed. Gray read parenting books. Jolly painted nursery walls with flying elephants and starlit skies. They fought over baby names. Until one night, Gray pointed at the moon and said, "She'll be our Luna, our light in darkness." And Jolly whispered, "Luna it is." Then came the day Luna was born. Tiny, fierce, with eyes like Jolly's, and a cry that melted Gray's entire soul. He held her with trembling arms. "I've built companies, survived betrayals, fought for love," he whispered. "But this is my greatest creation." Fatherhood softened Gray. He stepped back from the company, letting young visionaries lead, while he spent his mornings braiding Luna's hair and telling her about the stars. Jolly, now an award-winning children's author, wrote books inspired by Luna's questions, like "Why doesn't the sun sleep?" and "The Girl Who Hugged Rainbows." Their home became a sanctuary of stories, song, and Sunday pancakes. But even in peace, life can test love. One day, a letter arrived from Gray's estranged father, whom he hadn't seen since he was 18. "I'm dying," it read, "and I want to meet my granddaughter before I go." Gray hadn't spoken of him, not even to Jolly, a man who abandoned them, who saw weakness in emotions. The reason Gray became cold before Jolly melted him. Jolly listened quietly. "Do you want to go?" she asked. "I don't know," Gray admitted. "I hate him, but I don't want Luna to grow up hating people she never met." Jolly took his hand. "Then let's go together." They flew to a small village. The air was sharp, the memories sharper. Gray's father was frail, eyes hollow, voice cracked with time. "I watched you on TV," he rasped. "You became everything I never was. And somehow, you didn't become me." He looked at Luna. "You gave her what I didn't give you." Gray's throat tightened. For the first time in decades, he wept in his father's arms. Healing doesn't always look like grand gestures. Sometimes it's a quiet room where tears say what words never could. They left the next day, but something shifted inside Gray. He started speaking at youth shelters, told his story, shared his failures, taught forgiveness and love. Years passed. Luna grew into a vibrant girl, curious and fearless. She asked once, "How did you and Mama fall in love?" Gray smiled. "We didn't fall. We grew into it. Like trees leaning toward each other until our branches touched," Jolly added. "And we watered it every day, with trust." Their love wasn't perfect. It stumbled, broke, rebuilt, but it never stopped choosing itself. Through storms, scandals, sleepless nights, and sweet giggles, they were proof that even the most unexpected love, between a billionaire and a betrayed girl from nowhere, could build a legacy, not just in buildings or books, but in hearts. Time, it doesn't ask permission, it flows. It carries youth in one hand and wisdom in the other, and even the most beautiful love stories must make peace with the passing of days. For Gray and Jolly, the years didn't dim their love, they deepened it. Luna grew into a brilliant teenager, passionate about social causes. She was a firework, explosive, brave, and occasionally reckless. At 16, she organized a community garden project for low-income neighborhoods. At 17, she protested outside Gray Corporation when a partner company was accused of unethical practices. Gray, both stunned and proud, looked at her and whispered to Jolly, "She's you, and better." Their home, now filled with old photo frames and children's books signed by readers from across the world, became a sanctuary of memory. But then, one chilly autumn afternoon, something changed. Jolly, now 51, was reading under a sycamore tree when she fainted, just like she had years ago in the garden. Only this time, it wasn't a new beginning, it was the start of a fight. Stage 3, ovarian cancer. The doctor's words hit Gray like an avalanche. He stood frozen as Luna held her mother's hand and said, "We'll beat this. Right, Mama?" Jolly smiled. "Of course, my moonlight. We always beat the odds." But inside, she knew the road ahead was uncertain. Chemotherapy began. The hair fell. The strength waned. But Jolly's spirit, oh, that remained unshaken. She wrote letters to Luna on the days she couldn't get out of bed. Letters for her 18th birthday, her college graduation, her wedding day, her first heartbreak. Each one sealed with a lipstick kiss. Gray tried everything. He hired the best specialists, donated millions to cancer research, prayed in temples, churches, mosques, even though he didn't believe in anything but her. But sometimes, love can't cure everything. 2 years into her fight, Jolly sat on the same balcony where Gray once proposed. Her voice was weaker, but her heart was strong. "Gray," she said softly, "do you remember the first time we danced?" He nodded, eyes wet. "You wore a red dress and pink sneakers." She chuckled. "You stepped on my toes 5 times." He smiled. "I stepped into the best mistake of my life." She leaned into him. "Promise me something. Anything. When it's time. Let me go. With grace. With peace. Don't let Luna carry the weight of watching me suffer." He didn't reply. Couldn't. But later that night, he sat beside her, held her hand, and whispered, "I promise." One quiet morning, as the sun rose gently over their wildflower garden, Jolly passed. No machines, no pain, just Gray, Luna, and a playlist of her favorite songs. In her hand, a letter addressed to them both. "My loves, don't cry too long. I didn't lose, I lived. I found the kind of love most novels only dream of. I walked through fire and came out blooming. Gray, you gave me a life beyond anything I imagined. Luna, You are my second heartbeat. Make the world better, brighter, bolder. And when you miss me, just look up. The moon is your signal, and I am always near. Her funeral wasn't grand. It was personal. Books she'd written were placed beside her. Kids from her foundation read her poems. And Gray, the billionaire who once feared emotions, wept openly as he played her favorite lullaby. Months passed, seasons changed. Luna left for college, studying environmental law. Gray retired completely, but not from life. He spent his days running Jolly's foundation, taught painting to kids, and every night he wrote in a journal letters to her, as if she still sat beside him. One letter read, "Today, Luna called. She made her first big speech in Parliament. I saw you in her voice, her fire. You would have been proud. You are proud, aren't you? I miss you, terribly, but I feel you, always." On his 70th birthday, Gray stood in the garden where they once danced. He wore a suit she picked years ago, held her old journal, and whispered, "Jolly, I'm not afraid anymore. I'll be with you soon. But until then, I'll keep dancing. For us." Their love didn't end. It became a legacy. In Luna's courage. In every book read by a child. In every woman who found strength through Jolly's story. And in every star that blinked, somewhere above, just a little brighter, because once upon a time, a broken girl and a guarded man chose each other again and again until forever. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment love so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know, where are you watching from? Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, spread love.